all right, boys. I have a question for you guys. And this is because today I happen to have eaten I happen to have
Eaten,
a
yep,
bagel.
yep.
Eaten a bagel. Thank you.
Yep.
Today so I ate a bagel, and as I was eating it, I was for some reason thinking about you guys and thinking about the bagel, and when I imagined bagels before, because this is not a common type of food where I'm at. I always thought it was like a bun, but it has like the hole in the middle.
Yes.
What is the purpose of the hole in the middle of the bagel? Doesn't that just reduce the structural integrity of it for sandwiches? I don't understand
It's a
the point.
Freudian question.
Yeah. As far as structural integrity goes, bagels are pretty high up there because they're boiled, so they're pretty stiff. But yeah, I wouldn't personally use it as like a sandwich. A lot of people will do like half a bagel with cream cheese, and some people do like fancy stuff like salmon on it. But yeah, it's like it's a Jewish food originally. I think it came from Poland or Germany. It's very popular in both Poland and Germany today, at least. And now all over the world, I would say mostly it's kind of gotten a foothold. But yeah, super popular here in the States. It's boiled and then it's baked after that. So yeah, it's a pretty rigid. I don't know, not a bun, like a roll, I guess.
See, yeah, this is the thing. Like the difficulty in categorization was actually. Like, I don't want to say it made me angry, but it did. For some reason, it annoyed me while I was eating it. I was like, "The fuck is it? Why?" But yeah, and for sure, the place I went to, like a semi-trendy fucking sandwich place that made it, and they went full on like ethnic with it. There was like half veggies and like lots of very seasoned chicken and other stuff. So it was like spilling out from the edges, and that's why I wondered, this hole isn't making shit easier because shit falls through the hole as well as from the side.
When you put something on the bagel, the hole no longer makes sense because it wasn't the hole created, and no, I'm not going to make a dick and pussy joke. Wasn't it created so you can put a shit ton of bagels on a stick and you can walk around the street and sell the bagels, right? But then if we're not putting it on a stick through the hole and we're putting stuff on the bagel, you can no longer put it on the stick. So why do you keep the hole? Why not just use two different buns when you're creating your sandwich?
Important questions. I think there's a market here for holeless bagels, boys. I think we found it.
So donate to the Patreon, and you guys will get. Everybody will be sent a Hakeem, probably half rotten by the time it arrives to you, a holeless bagel, which is basically just a fucking bun. Sorry, you can say something.
Of course, I'm going to make this about capitalism, but if the free market actually worked properly, the bagel with a hole inside of it used instead of a bun would at this point be obsolete because you have less bread and it's very unpractical, etc., etc. But the market doesn't work that way, and just because it's a gimmick and you can feel like you're eating something more high-end than just something between two buns, it still exists. So the bagel debunks capitalism, basically, because it exists.
Beautiful.
All right, I looked it up, boys. I looked up, why does a bagel have a hole? And it says, the hole in the middle of the bagel allows it to have a larger surface area, making it easier to consistently cook the bagel all the way through. This is important because bagel dough can be incredibly thick, which would make it difficult to know if the center was cooked completely if the hole was not there.
I see. All right. This seems like something that could still be fixed with human ingenuity. This seems like
there are many, many other breads that are baked properly without holes.
That being said, I also had an interesting, like, not to bore people with my fucking patient stories, but this is the first time I've seen this, so I thought I would, inform the public. So a guy comes in to the emergency ward for a nasty infection, basically. But he's completely unaffected, but all the labs came back really fucked up.
All the labs means all the results.
The tests, yeah.
Yeah, the blood results, exactly. And when I looked at his data, one of the things that was there was his weight, and it was like 130 kilos or something, and I was like, oh, okay, so he's a larger set gentleman. And then when I met this dude, he was built. I'm mentioned this fucking statement before. He was built like a brick shithouse. This dude was just muscle. I don't think there was even a human being there, right? But that's not why he was interesting. What was interesting is he tested positive for every single drug ever. This is like, let me just give you a short list of the things. We thought that the machines had broken. We thought that there was something wrong. Wow. But no, everything was fine. He tested positive for opioids. He tested positive for meth. He tested, or amphetamine specifically. He tested positive for cocaine. He tested positive for benzos. He tested positive for name it. He tested positive for. It's the thing. I sent actually a picture to a friend of mine, and the list is just like positive. It's like 10 things.
Come on, that has to be a mistake. What the fuck? And you say he looks super fit. He looks like a massive fucking destroyer of worlds.
Yeah, turns out, no, this guy, he is a long-term abuser of drugs who claims to have been clean recently. By the way, these blood tests weren't the ones we did today, the drug tests. These are drug tests from a little while back, but you just see them in the list regardless. And he claims to have been clean for a while. I don't know. We didn't take new tests, but I just looked at it. I was like, okay, this is very, very interesting to see. But what was even more interesting is a dude who's such a chronic abuser of drugs is like, he must be on steroids too. I mean, if he takes all the other stuff, he probably takes steroids.
Why stop there?
Why stop there? I wouldn't. I mean, fuck it.
Yeah, but because otherwise it's a physical impossibility for him to, unless short of like godlike genetics. Yeah. Fuck me, but yeah. So that was a very interesting encounter.
Maybe he just came after a very fucked up weekend. Maybe he doesn't do it on the regular. Just like that specific weekend, right after I need to go get my fucking blood results. Yeah, does all of them at once. Like, let's see the face on the fucking doctor. No, he knows that you actually got a podcast, so he doped himself up to go and talk to you so that he can become a story and forever be written in the annals of the Deprogram.
This fucking shithole podcast. I mean, hey, well, I hope he was happy. So that's it. That's one. And number two, I think I mentioned this last time. I had an American patient who was a consultant. I think I mentioned this in the last episode.
Yeah, the guy who said, crud.
Yeah, he was like, oh, crud, and what's a son of a gun, shit like this. Yeah. So, other than that, sadly, no other interesting patients. I apologize. These are my two stories for today. I hope they've thoroughly enriched your fucking commutes to work or whatever people do when listening to this.
Thank you, Dr. Hakeem.
Actually, I just remembered a story.
You're welcome, my children.
In the previous episode, I was in Greece. In this episode, I'm back in the country I usually live in. And on the border, there was a massive wait time, basically from cars of people that are coming back from vacation, and there was only one line that was opened. And some guy with, very small head on his shoulders decided to cut over 30 people, over 30 cars, which is probably around 100 people, and go to the front of the line. Some idiot in the front of the line actually let him cut in, and after everyone saw that, people started to do what? Number one, lose their shit because of the injustice, or number two, try to cut the line as well. And everybody was tolerating 1, 2, 3 cars when they started slowly moving into the right lane and then driving all the way down in order to potentially cut in front, until one very, very short, very chubby, very aggressive, bold, I believe he was Romanian man, exited his car and literally stood in front of like 20 vehicles. It was a Tiananmen Square, but on Greek boulder type of fucking situation. And when a lot of other people saw that, they were very inspired. They obviously got out of their cars. Then people started, the ones that were trying to cut started getting out of their cars. And this became like a mini fight between 50, 60-year-old versions of their respective countries. There were Serbs there, there were Romanians there, there were Greeks there, there were Germans there, there were Brits there. Everybody shouting in their own language, and it's especially beautiful when you understand most of them. And they're like, this shit is pretty ingenious, up until, the first guy tried to punch the second guy. I believe it was a German gentleman trying to punch a younger Greek dude. The Greek dude just moved out of the way and looked him right in the face, like, what the fuck are you trying to do? Get back in your fucking car and turn around. And then they awkwardly, slowly slowly had to pull back because the road is extremely tight and go to the back of the line. It was so fucking satisfying. Everybody started honking their cars, honking, pressing the honk on their car and like applauding out of the window. So I guess a metaphor for how even tiny, bold, chubby Romanian dudes can start up a revolution, I guess.
You witnessed the drunk international.
Yeah.
Fucking. Oh my god. Okay, well I'm glad that you made it out in one piece. I'm glad that you didn't get out of the car and start fucking people up.
I was thinking about it, but everybody was like much older than me, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be that guy anymore. Even though they're older than me and they should be wiser, but respect to the dude for stopping it. Big balls on him. We shouldn't have just stood by and see that fucking, the assholes getting away with not doing their time.
But no Turks this time, huh?
No Turks. Actually, that's exactly what I said. I was like, if the Turks were here, they would have fucking massacred everybody that was trying to pass it. These motherfuckers carry bricks in their cars for when they're waiting on borders. And you're trying to pass it, and there's like literally hundreds of cars to your left, and just a brick flies through your car. And nobody's going to snitch on who threw the fucking brick. And you're just sitting there with glass in your fucking arms, understanding just how stupid you're behaving. Same can happen if you see a bunch of trucks parked one behind another, waiting for something, or just parked because they're chilling. Never drive very quickly past them, because that's basically where they live for like 7 weeks when they're on the road. So they are very annoyed by this, and sometimes they can be downstairs talking, having a cigarette, making barbecue or whatever, and you can get a brick through your window as well in case you're in my part of the world and speeding past them. So just be respectful to people who are waiting for shit, because you've also waited for shit, and it's arguably one of the most annoying feelings you can get. So let's not blame people for being easily irritatable.
Yes, wait for things unless you are Ugopnik getting your gun license renewed.
Yes.
In which case,
exactly
bribe the person.
Then do not follow any of my advice.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Deprogram. Today we're going to be doing something a bit lighter. We've had 2 episodes which were very theory heavy. It was a lot of quotes. It was a little bit boring maybe. Hopefully not. A lot of you did seem to enjoy it. But we thought maybe today we can do something slightly more relaxed, something more chill, maybe a little bit more funny. Let's hope. Anyways, today's topic at hand is in what's it called? An iceberg. If you're not aware what that is, it's basically a bunch of things that get increasingly more obscure as you go down the tiers. At the very top level, there's stuff that more people know about. The deeper you go, the more obscure basically the ideas or subjects or topics are. This is something I covered in a recent video actually, but I did only the lowest tier. Today we're going to be going through the top tiers because there's a lot to talk about, and I think for a lot of people there's some stuff they didn't know, so we can just chat shit about that. Anything to add, boys?
No, I didn't know what this was for the longest time. I kept seeing it on Twitter. I'm like, what are these people? Why are there these words on this iceberg? What does this mean? So thank you for explaining it to Boomer me.
All right, nothing but love for Boomer JT. Now please bring more fucking graham crackers or whatever the fuck. Are graham crackers? Wait, are these saltine crackers? What's the difference? I don't know what the fucking difference is.
Big difference. Saltine cracker is like it's just a very plain cracker with a little bit of salt on top.
But it has salt, right? We finally have to. Okay, that's fucking salt. I got in a fight with an American in Greece over this shit, so it has salt. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's got some little salt crystals on it. Usually, I'm sure there are some off brands that don't, but saltines do have salt.
Okay. Jesus. Okay.
Let's see. What was the other one? Graham crackers. Yeah, graham crackers are like it's sweet. It's like
you fucking Americans. Why? It's a fucking cracker. It's supposed to be savory. Okay, you know what? Okay, fine.
It's probably you'd call. I don't know. The Brits would probably call it a biscuit. I don't know. It's like it's a sweet bread thing. Yeah.
Graham. Oh, it's a graham, not a gram. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet flavored cracker made with graham flour. So it's a special type of flour too. All right.
I didn't know that. That is news to
Usually
me.
Honey or cinnamon flavored, and is used as an ingredient in other food. I'm not gonna lie. This looks like some fucking Great Depression shit. Hold on.
They're pretty good.
Sylvester Graham was the one who, part of the temperance movement. Okay, all right, so semi-based. All right, beautiful. And it's used to make moon pies. The fuck is a moon pie? It's an American confection popular across the United States. It consists of 2 round graham cookies with marshmallow filling. Oh my lord. Oh, it's dipped in shit too, of course it is.
Dipped in chocolate, thank you very much, I think.
Right, okay. Oh, yes,
that sounds like a
s'more.
Right. Yeah.
Why
are they called moon pies?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. Isn't that just basically a fucking s'more?
Yeah. We have to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, well, there was a national biscuit company that was shortened to Nabisco, which is kind of cute. Well, which is now fucking owned by Mondelez. Of course it is. Fucking capitalism. Anyways, okay, let's get back to it. Oh, hold on. It was considered. Oh, listen to this. The guy, the Sylvester Graham, he believed that minimizing pleasure and stimulation of all kinds, including the prevention of masturbation, coupled with a vegetarian diet anchored by bread made from wheat coarsely ground at home, was how God intended people to live, and that following this natural law would keep people healthy. His preaching was taken up widely in the midst of the 1829 to 1851 cholera pandemic. That's a lengthy period. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it was a global thing. All right then. Okay, that's enough about fucking graham crackers. Back to the topic at hand, the stupid iceberg. The very first entry into this is one that's just titled "Anarchists Sparked World War I." Excuse me, I can't fucking speak today. If I'm a bit slower today, I'm coming off a fucking night shift. I haven't slept at all, so excuse me. Excuse me if I slur my words a bit more. Yes, so the general idea of this one is the concept, or the belief, that some of the people who took part in the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, the Archduke of Austria, were anarchists or had taken part in some anarchist meetings and whatnot. And as a result, then this is kind of like, the idea being like, oh, since they were anarchists, then anarchists started World War I, which is not really that true, because even the guy who actually pulled the trigger, Princip
Gavrilo Princip, baby! Represent.
Yeah, I mean, hey, any progressive Yugoslav nationalism I'm for. So, but yeah, he wasn't actually an anarchist. He happened to have read many anarchistic, socialistic, nationalistic pamphlets and all that nonsense. But that doesn't make you a
so have we.
Yeah, exactly right. It does make you an anarchist. But yeah, do you know something I love is that he was interviewed by Freud apparently, and Freud kept trying to do this like weird, what's it called? Like, he fell in love with some like teenager, and that kind of mixed with his love for his country, and his like the sexual expression of his love was the assassination. Like very stupid shit.
I thought it was Freud's buddy.
It wasn't
two
Freud.
People. Yes. It wasn't Freud, exact. Hold on.
Dr. Pappenheim.
Right, you're correct. My bad. Excuse me. But it's that the trend of thought is similar. The same weird analysis where it's like, you want to stick your dick in somebody, but it didn't work out, so you went and shot somebody, and that was a manifestation of the. Yes.
Yeah, psychologists trying to understand political and ideological thought is always very entertaining, because they always have to stick to their source material, which is very limiting when it comes to geopolitics. But Gavrilo Princip is a relatively complicated figure for the very short life that he had led. But at the end of the day, he was an interesting political creature, because we don't necessarily see many people of similar political outlooks today, which are basically very simple. Whatever can bring anti-imperialism to all the enslaved Slavic peoples under Austro-Hungarian rule is one which I would support. So basically a national liberation idealist who on one hand, and on the other hand, one who would basically agree with any sort of ideological current which would allow for said liberation to occur. And we potentially do still see such wide tent movements in places like Palestine, etc., where the struggle unites a relatively large group of large number of groups who have the same goal at the end of the day, maybe not the same methods and maybe not the same long-term goals. But as long as the short-term goals are there, they'll be fine. And the whole group, including Gavrilo Princip, had some which were more ideologically indoctrinated, as liberals would say, and just smart dudes, as we would say. But Gavrilo himself definitely still on the fence, which is normal for somebody that young. I think all of us were on the fence back then.
Yeah.
But
dude, he was 19 when all this shit happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm completely unsurprised.
But it's so interesting that he wasn't radical enough to choose one of the ideologies, but was radical enough to pop a cap in a fucking emperor's head, you know?
Yeah.
Beyond base.
Imagine watching the fallout from prison, like hearing about what happened since he pulled the trigger.
I mean, this is something I've always disliked about the liberal narrative of World War One is that, the assassination of the Archduke. And it's like you guys are so fucking stupid. No, this is not it. There was
it was brewing for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly right, yeah. And there's a very good case for a Marxist analysis of the usual stuff, like expansion of markets within the European community at the time, before there was any extended concept of imperialism, at least the way that Lenin formulated it, was just kind of beginning at the point, especially for the quote-unquote lesser European countries. So that makes a lot more sense when you analyze it from that aspect, this expansionism, excuse me. But to then just pin it on this one guy, right? If he didn't do it... Yeah, because the assassination of somebody else would have probably sparked it, or somebody took a shit the wrong time of fucking day and would have sparked it. This is not, I mean, the Balkans had 2 wars prior to this, right?
Yep.
It was slightly more complicated, can we say. One quote that's pretty cool, it's actually on the thing that I sent you guys, from Gavrilo. He said, "Our ghosts will walk through Vienna and roam through the palace, frightening the lords." Which, that's very metal.
That is super metal. You can see that graffiti all over Bosnia and Serbia. It is extremely metal. And I really like it. And I'm kind of like a not ultra fan, but kind of a fan of.
But I get it. Yeah, no, completely.
It speaks to the audacity of my peoples.
Yeah. I was gonna actually ask you, Gopnik, is there any anti-Austrian or like some Austrian hate still in the Balkans, or is that not?
We colonized those motherfuckers. Like I think like half of Vienna has like signs in Serbo-Croatian, and like everybody's fucking Serbo-Croatian. We were like, okay, our revenge for literally Serbia lost half of its entire male population during World War One. Half. And it refused to capitulate, and its king, together with a shit ton of the population, which could actually migrated for over 6 months over Albania and then over to Greece, after which they stormed back into the country towards the end of World War I, helping liberate their own households, etc., etc. But after the way we got revenge back for, they got revenge back for half of their male population being exterminated is by going and taking Viennese jobs and marrying their wives, and the classical, oh my god, them immigrants incoming experience. So yeah, we ended up winning. That's my answer.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I like to hear. Moving on, I think that's enough about that, because it's a fairly well-known thing. Something that maybe not as many people know about, titled Dennis Rodman DPRK, or Dennis Rodman North Korea. For those who don't know who Dennis Rodman is, which is basically everybody outside the US, Dennis Rodman is apparently a very famous former American professional basketball player. He was also apparently very, very good at his craft.
The dude with a lot of tattoos in the face and very weird piercings all over, and very soul-starry eyes.
Yeah, I yes, exactly right. If you describe that to me, I still don't know what he looks like. I've seen pictures of him, but in my mind's eye, it doesn't come form. But
that is, ladies and gentlemen, how much research we do for this podcast.
Exactly right. Hey, look, there's some people out there who probably have fucking what's it called, the basketball cards, or the fucking sports cards. This is something again that I don't understand about Americans.
Dude, please cards. Just Google him right now, because you can't It's a big part of him being very known how he looks like.
I've seen what he looks like.
Okay, there now.
I mean, he looks like he looks like he looks cool.
Yeah, he looks very cool. He looks very cool. But like some of the outfits are like next fucking level. But okay.
Yeah. I was just gonna say no. There's apparently recently he did some photo shoot. He has orange hair. And he has like man. I respect it.
Yeah, but respect the drip. Respect the drip. Respect the piercings as well. Now he wears a lot less of them, I guess. But it used to be, I don't know, like 20 of them on his face. Very distinct look for the 2000s. A fucking icon. Yeah. That's what I say.
Yeah. Guy, he's 60 years old, or he's actually slightly older. He looks good for his age too. Hey, why not? And of course, the usual thing with basketball players, they're fucking tall as all shit. Jesus Christ. Yeah. But hey, good for him. Anyways, my point being, it was good for at his job and all that. How he came into the international stage, especially politically, was his relation to North Korea, DPRK, and specifically to Kim Jong-un, who's the current leader of the DPRK. He's made several visits prior. I think the first one was in 2013 or so, where it was basically like some sports exhibition stuff, basketball stuff. And then when he came by to the DPRK, it turns out that Kim Jong-un is a very big basketball fan, and he enjoys watching it, and he's even played it previously in his youth. So they kind of meet up, and then they, I guess, just chat shit, which is very interesting. You know something? Again, most people don't realize Kim Jong-un is very young. This guy's born, I think, 80. Yeah, he's born 83.
Yeah, he's a millennial. Right?
Yeah, exactly right. He's 39 years old. So in 2013, that was nearly 10 years ago. Yeah, my God, this guy was in his fucking. He was a young dude. So I can imagine how, aside from the complexities and the stress of running a country that's sanctioned by the number one military power in the world, he must probably be a fun guy to chat with. Anyways, so Dennis Rodman, he goes over to the DPRK. He meets up with him, and afterwards, after some discussions, he says, "Oh yeah." Kim Jong-un, he's a friend for life now. He's a jolly old guy, which we on the Deprogram also agree with. You know something I like about this thing? Because he went back and forth with the visits several times, and every single time he's went and came back, he always drops a comment where he's like, "Hey, yeah, Obama should give him a call," or like, "Oh, you know what? Like, the president should, you should like send a text or something. You should kind of like."
You guys need to
try to cool down with it. Yeah, exactly.
Look, he doesn't like. He obviously likes black dudes, Obama, and you also like basketball, Obama. Come on, hit him up. That's like half of his comments.
No, yeah. Do you know something that's also fairly chill with this guy? Is because the American government realized that Kim Jong-un likes him, or is a fan of basketball, whatever. He became kind of like a goodwill ambassador for the U.S., and he went over to negotiate 2 times also for a bunch of dumb fuck Americans that go over to DPRK and do stupid shit. Either they steal stuff, or they, they're like, North Koreans don't know about Jesus. Here, fucking Bibles for everyone, despite the fact that there's even a Christian party in the, what's it called, in the United Front coalition that is in the DPRK. So yes, there are churches. People know about fucking, right? The people know what a Bible is. And there's this one guy, a guy named Kenneth Bay, who went over there trying to specifically set up some sort of like base of operations to overthrow the government, the North Korean government. And this guy, who was then imprisoned for, by the way, if you were to do this in the US, you're done for it. You're never seeing a fucking light of day again, right? This guy was imprisoned for 15 years in the DPRK. Afterwards, he would have been released, obviously. But when Dennis Rodman went over, he negotiated and got him released like the next year or something.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a very lenient sentence for what a piece of shit that person was. Yes, and he did it for somebody else too. Something that I like also, there's a quote from Rodman about this where he says, "My mission is to break the ice between hostile countries. Why it's been left to me to smooth things over, I don't know." That's such a fucking... Oh my God. Another quote is, he says is, "If I don't finish in the top 3 for the next Nobel Peace Prize, something's seriously wrong."
Yeah.
He loves himself. He's great.
This dude adores himself.
But this is a vibe. Apparently, one of the times when he went over, he got a bunch of gifts for Kim Jong-un and his family, and one of the gifts that he got was Donald Trump's The Art of the Deal, which was signed, I think, by Trump as well. Maybe no. He gave him signed jerseys. Now the book itself wasn't signed, but that's funny. Number one. Number two, which I thought was very cute, is he got a little Where's Waldo book for Kim Jong-un's daughter.
Yeah.
Which, which is very, very cute. And he's apparently like, gone back and forth a few more times. And a few people have been like, oh, he must be a CIA agent. He must be this or that. And the American government has neither confirmed nor denied. So, that's
their specialty, yeah.
This dude, like 2 days ago, was like, send me to Russia. I'm going to save the basketball chick. I'm going to bring her back. I guess he's really leaning into his world-saving personality that he's building up. But yeah, it's interesting. Like maybe like the egomania shit comes out of the fact that everybody's telling you constantly that there's no talking to these savage peoples of the North Korean plains, and then you go, and obviously yes, because you're a superstar, but you get to interact with the leader of the country, and he treats you relatively well. So you then tell yourself, man, all these fucking presidents and diplomats, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. I can throw a fucking ball around, and I'm helping do more for international relations with the state than everybody else combined. Which, when I'm saying that, I'm not making fun of Dennis, I'm making fun of everybody. I mean, if this coup can relatively stabilize the whole situation, not stabilize the situation, but if he can get a conversation going, that means that professional politicians are actively being passive when it comes to starting the conversation on North Korean to West relations.
I like that, actively being passive. Nice.
Hey, but no, that is a thing. If there's anything the U.S. government is good at doing, it's actively being passive.
Yeah, trying to look like they're doing something while absolutely not doing anything. That's That's their bread and butter.
Such as subs. Being a sub is okay. Don't take comments out of my mouth. I should know.
Yeah. All right. Moving swiftly on. The next entry is Jonestown Suicides, which is a...
Talk about a switch in fucking darkness.
Yeah, boy. All right. So this is something that's fairly known, so we're going to cover it very quickly. For people who don't know, in 1978, there was this guy called Jim Jones who was a crazy dude. Right, he was part evangelical, part I guess kind of lefty, but he used socialist terminology. But the extent of his commitment towards socialism isn't very clear.
It seems like hippie stuff, like utopian, peace and love. Yeah,
exactly right. That is exactly right. That was his stuff. Basically, what he wanted to do was he wanted to create some fucking commune and just have a bunch of people living there, man. Fucking, growing pot and then living some communal fucking everybody helps everybody existence. Exactly like JT said, the utopian garbage. But in, I think it was 1978, he was, or 1977 or so, he was being investigated by the US for whatever reason, or at least he was paranoid of being investigated, even though there was an investigation going on. And he decided to pack up his bags and with some of his followers and go to Guyana, in which he kind of took a plot of land and just named it Jonestown after himself, which is very, very, very...
normal.
This is the absolutely balanced behavior. This man is completely stable. But yeah.
I'm Stalingrad.
Leningrad. Actually, for posterity's sake, because then people listening who don't know, Stalin actively refused and fought against every single naming of anything after him ever. Every single time. And it was usually just voted through despite his strong, protests. The one thing he did manage to shoot down was the renaming of Moscow, which was going to be Stalinodar, which basically means gift of Stalin, which they wanted to do. And he was like,
that would be a bad look. Oh my God, that would be a bad look.
He was like, no, stop it.
But with the first one, he was like, no, stop it, no, don't name, come on, no. But with the second one, guys, oh come on, Jesus, one is enough. Oh my fucking God.
But what was I gonna say? By the way, JT, can you please remind me what the capital of your country is? I'm having a hard time thinking. What was it again?
I don't know. Yeah, I wonder. I'm sure we didn't name it after anybody.
Yeah. There's also a state which is it has a very similar name.
Probably unrelated.
Really scratching my name. Also unironic, how basically every person in that fucking white people club that was the founding of your lovely country, JT.
Oh yes, of course.
I'll hold my words. Their names fucking litter the map
everywhere,
of the U.S. Aren't there like hundreds of fucking cities called Lafayette, for example?
Oh yeah. I mean, all of them.
And
Washington,
streets and everything.
Jefferson. Yeah. We have
exactly right.
I mean, we've got here in Texas, we've got Reagan everywhere. We've got Bush everywhere. We've got George W. Bush Turnpike. Or George? No, it's not George W. It's the original Bush, George Bush Turnpike.
Yeah, whatever. All these will be fucking torn down after the revolution. So they'll all be renamed to fucking Stalingrad afterwards.
Every city will be called Stalin.
Anyways, back to the fucking thing. So a bunch of people. So this guy got paranoid and put a bunch like rat poison or some shit in the what's it called, Kool-Aid that they all drank. And then 900 people died. It's not that interesting. Many of these people were forced to basically commit suicide at gunpoint. Many of them also escaped into the forest.
Like 900 people died. That was a lot of people. But also, one thing that a lot of people don't know is that he was investigated by like a congressman, and some people flew over, and then one dude tried to stab the congressman. They left. They went to get on their planes, and then Jones had sent a hit squad to the airstrip to murder the people before they left. So he had a U.S. congressman killed, and his buddies that came with him too. So pretty wild.
And it's like main mechanism of like defense for some fucking reason was like everybody just suicides. Like this was like planned. Like they did a premeditated practice of how to quickly whack yourself in case they find us for like months before this actually happened.
Yeah.
Of course, cults, we all know relatively how they look like, or how they work, and we could even have an episode on it. But it just sounds stupid. Like shoot at whoever's coming. Why do you just whack yourself? A form of pacifism? But is it really pacifism when half of the people whacking themselves have a fucking gun onto their head?
Jones was just nuts. I mean, he called it a revolutionary act to have all his followers kill themselves, which was just bizarre.
Yeah, he was very mentally ill, and he was also addicted to several drugs, and was probably paranoid and also hallucinating as a result of the fucking mixtures that he was taking, the cocktails that he was using. So it's completely not surprising that he ended up doing what he did. But yeah, it's an interesting episode of American history, I guess. But it's fairly well known about. By the way, I just want to say when doing the research for this, there was like a related article, but also from the era, kind of, about some guy that was basically held hostage in Lebanon during the short-term American involvement around the Civil War era in Lebanon. It's a very fucking confusing timeline. But basically, I want to just read one little like sentence, which is, the hostages were taken to serve as insurance against retaliation against Hezbollah, which was thought to be responsible for the killing of over 300 Americans in the Marine barracks in Beirut. What are 300 Americans doing in like the fuck? 300 Americans in the Marine barracks. So 300 American soldiers is what you're saying. During an active military conflict, there were members of another army in your country, and they were killed. The twisting of the words is so fucking.
Oh, bullet hit me. Oh, but why? Man, where are you?
It is widely believed that Iran and Syria also played a role in the kidnapping. Yeah, well, good for them. Okay, jeez, fuck. One very easy way to not get kidnapped as an American: don't be in a fucking active war zone. All right, is that really that hard to? By the way, the guy who was kidnapped was trying to be a fucking missionary. The dude was going to arguably the most Christian Arab country, trying to fucking idiots. I swear. Anyways, the next, installment in this messy shit show of an episode, I really do apologize, is these people fucking love it, it's fine, is McCarthyism. I'm sure everybody knows what McCarthyism is, but I'm just going to give a very quick rundown. It is basically accusations of people who are being, they're subversives, they've committed treason against the United States, blah, blah, they're communists, or they're socialists, or whatever the fuck, basically red baiting to try to get people fired or imprisoned, or worse. and it was something that happened basically during the 50s and extended well into the 80s within the US in different ways. The big meme of it, at least with the McCarthy or the McCarthyist era, is that the vast majority of the people who were accused had actually nothing to do with communist influence or whatever the fuck. Most of them were like loose progressives. Like some of them, for example, were known to be like LGBT, or some of them were known to be kind of more like, you know, active in the feminist movements of the like,
oh, blacks are humans.
Yeah, exactly. Or yes, that one of the things was like one of the things that would put you up for suspicion is having too many quote unquote colored friends, which. I just like that. America's just one big fucking.
Like, it must have been even more difficult for racists back then, because then they couldn't say, "Oh man, I'm not racist. I have a black friend." Because if you say I have a black friend, then you're a fucking commie, motherfucker.
I'm not racist, but I don't have any black friends.
My favorite part about this is, by the way, the reason it's called McCarthy is because it's named after a fucking nobody senator that basically made a name for himself when he's like, I know 200 people in the military and the U.S. state apparatus and the CIA and the FBI who are card-carrying members of the Communist Party, which, by the way, I thought that the United States is a free country and you can be espoused whatever beliefs you want, but you know, that's a fucking logical disconnect that Americans never fucking managed to, at least liberals, never managed to fucking put two and two together around. And of course, it hit also lots of the people in creative fields, because those people tend to have colored friends. But yeah, so it went into like the Hollywood aspect of things. There were some communists amongst them, some of them very outspoken communists. Others are just kind of, you know, like loose progressives, like I said. There are a bunch of people also who are just kind of like accused of being communists because they couldn't do a better job of like terrorizing third world countries. So they're like low-level people in what's it called? Certain military organizations in the US who were like, oh, you lost China because Mao's millions of fucking, you know, like the communist movement in China, and the millions of people that subscribe to the ideology and joined the Chinese Liberation, the People's Liberation Army, and all that kind of stuff. All these people, you just no, it's the one American guy that couldn't keep fucking, what's it called?
Yeah.
So that's another stupid thing. You can tell I haven't fucking slept much, can you? Many apologies. There's one thing that I wanted to add about it, which, by the way, I think is very interesting because there's like a weird parallel to this day, is that you can see some pamphlets of these, keep America American fucking committee bullshit, which is urging people, fight the communistic world government. And apparently the three-headed demon of communist world influences, fluoridation of water, the polio vaccine, which they call the polio monkey serum, and mental hygiene. Which
it's the same thing. I mean, it's been recycled since then. We have not moved on past that. We've just relabeled stuff.
Literally, exactly. There's absolutely no originality left. But whoever thought of it first probably had an inkling of it. But to me, like McCarthyism and in general, the second Red Scare, I don't know why it's on the iceberg, but for example, the first Red Scare isn't, because like I think 80% of people don't even know that there was an active movement in pushing people away from socialist ideas even before World War II started during the days of the inception of the Soviet Union, which is very important to note, because usually people say, McCarthyism was necessary because it wasn't that much against communism, but communism happened to be the ideology of the expanding imperialist enemy. So we needed to combat the ideology which would create local traitors, anti-Americans, who would fight on the side of the Soviet Union or whatever. Okay, decent argument, you stupid fuck. But when you look at the first McCarthyism, before McCarthyism, when you look at the first Red Scare, like the Soviet Union was like a blip on the map, a country that was building itself up and could not do absolutely anything to any outside state, let alone the United States. And yet the first Red Scare was most definitely a state policy, which should tell us, again, that it was an anti-ideological movement and that Americans themselves, at least those on top, understood that capitalism and the American quote-unquote way is incompatible with socialist ideas, not a fear of a Soviet Union. If the Soviet Union didn't even exist after World War II, there would still be a Red Scare in the U.S. because it's the natural progression of reactionary sentiment and declining economic moods.
By the way, what's it called? Just one thing which I find very funny because it's like almost like a one-to-one parallel with modern, like American, mostly conservatives usually, is that the vaccination drives that were kind of like picking up around that the era. They were saying, oh, this is just another what's it called? Push for nationwide socialized medicine. Oh, the horror! And there's like many of the people pushing for vaccination are ethnic Russians. Ooh.
Oh my god! Don't protect my children from horrible crippling diseases.
In enemy hands, it can destroy a whole generation. That's the fucking tagline. The what's it called? Vaccines, or I mean, like the health of children.
Yeah.
By the way, I love the way they depict the fucking the American public, the uninformed public. They depict it as like a little girl and some like big skull with like 3 balls, and it's like fluoridated water, polio monkey serums, mental hygiene, etc.
etc.
I love the etc. The unholy 3. All right. Good. Yeah. So the communist world government, of course, everybody listening has already knows that it's victorious. Of course, all of us are being paid here by the International Committee of Communist Propaganda.
And the CBI.
And the monkey serum is being injected into your brain through your ears as you listen right now.
Exactly right. Yes. Anyways, moving on from this, this is one that actually is a lot more fun actually to talk about. It is simply titled Che Guevara T-shirt. I'm not going to talk about that because everybody knows that there are a bunch of T-shirts with Che Guevara's face on it. I'm going to talk about the image that you see. The image that you see very commonly is one titled fuck me, I can't pronounce Spanish to save my life. Guerrero Heroico. I think the double L is supposed to be a Y. Okay. Thank you. The one gringo closest to Latin people on the podcast is the one I can correct me. No, I do appreciate it. Thank you, JT. But anyways, what that translates to is the heroic guerrilla fighter. It was a picture taken in 1960 by Alberto Corda, who has taken he's a Cuban photographer, and many other beautiful photos of various revolutionary scenes, particularly of Cuba, but also all around the world. And it was a picture that was taken as a result of the what's it called? A ship that was basically exploded in the in the harbor of Havana. Although the United States continues to deny it, it is on very good authority that this was a terrorist act committed by the United States government against Cuba. It is very clear, it's crystal clear, it's beyond all doubt that this was a terrorist act committed by the United States against Cuba. One of my favorite anecdotes, that's the word in English, from this event in history was at the time Guevara was working in his office, and when he got the phone call that the explosion happened, he got in his government car and rushed to the scene, and him being a physician by profession, immediately went to helping the people who were injured and wounded and whatnot, and everybody around him was like, what the fuck, you're Guevara, get out of here, there, this could be part of something bigger, your life could be in danger. And he was like, fuck off, no, I'm here to serve the people. He is beyond Chad. I don't even have words. But anyways, what's it called? One of my favorite anecdotes, also him helping, was at one point he went onto the burning ship itself to help people off, to help with the to help tend to the wounded who happened to be in the area because of the fucking explosion. You understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So again, double the amount of chat. The photo has basically been reproduced millions of times, if not even more. And there are murals in basically every fucking city on Earth of Guevara, of this particular image, including all over Cuba. And my favorite part as well is, since he was martyred like not very long after this, that's kind of solidified this image as the one of, this youthful, hopefully theoretically educated rebellion against, imperialism, capitalism, and so on, which is, absolutely beautiful. It's even the tricontinental, poster, the tricontinental conference posters, which was, I think, a year after he died. It was this image. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Yeah. There's several books actually categorized, that's the term, or documenting the use of the image and how it's shifted across time and whatnot by Michael Casey, which you can check out. But yeah, that's just a very, very inspiring photo. And of course, it was put out without any fucking copyright because, and I quote Castro, it is a bourgeois fantasy or something, or bourgeois invention. He said something like that about copyright, which is also beyond based.
Yeah. And because of that, it is the most widely reprinted image in history, apparently. And some people have said that's the most famous or most recognizable photo ever taken, which is really cool, I think. Because any way a person can learn about Guevara and the history of revolutionary struggle is a good thing. So whether that's from a T-shirt or a novelty mug or whatever they find that image on, that's a foot in the door.
It is, but it's also a representation of the commodification of struggle.
Absolutely,
and blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm going to say.
Of course. Actually, it was there was a TV show.
Yeah.
There was what was it? There was a sitcom.
And some guy walks in and some bitch reacts. Oh my God, he killed my dog and ate my fucking children.
Yeah.
Fucked my couch. Took a shit on my
takes the shirt off and
desk.
stomps on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking...
My God.
Very transparent, but very funny.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, what color were the people who were acting that? Oh, yes, very, very white. Very, very white Cuban immigrant descendants. I wonder why. I wonder what exactly did your family own before? Oh, people? Okay, that must be why. But yeah, also there's a whole lot of fucking bullshit around the image, which was they tried to twist it, where they would use the image and then they would put the text on top of it that says the largest, the world's largest jail, and implying that Cuba as an entire nation is just one large prison, which is hilarious coming from the country that actually has the largest prison population. But it's a great image. He's a great person. We should do a fucking Guevara episode.
We should.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to. But yeah. All right, let's go a bit deeper. I don't know. At first, I was like, "Oh, we're not gonna get through all these fucking." At first, I thought we're gonna run out of the fucking tiers very quickly. We're not even out of the fucking first tier.
Yeah.
We're just now entering the second tier, so we're gonna hurry up a bit, I guess. So tier number 2 is just cultural revolution. This is a huge topic. We're not gonna fucking touch it now. But if you want to be if you're just interested, okay. Around basically the period in the 60s and a bit longer up until Mao's death, there was a movement that was launched that was basically kind of like a bottom-up movement, but with approval from the top echelon, particularly from Mao himself, for the formation of basically Red Guards and for the combating of certain cultural influences, but particularly capitalist influences within the party and within society as a whole. The Cultural Revolution has a very mixed image. In some things it was very good, in some things it was very bad. It's very good to actually approach it very in a nuanced way. If you're interested, then Rev Left Radio has a very good episode on the Cultural Revolution, which you can check out. Otherwise, we will probably down the line make a deep dive into it ourselves. But yeah, interesting episode in Chinese history. By the way, whenever you read about it, they're going to 300 billion, gorillion, zillion fucking people dead. And I'm like, again, do we have to do this shit every time?
Yes.
Right? If you yeah, exactly. If you're interested, just for the TLDR, basically what they do, which is what they always do with socialist countries for no reason, is they take people who weren't ever born, basically they extrapolate fertility rates, and even though if there's any point of hardship, if it's revolution or reduced grain outputs or something, or famine or whatever the fuck, people don't have as many kids, right? But they still, the people who count these numbers, they basically extrapolate from famine, for example, fertility rates, and be like, there were supposed to be 40 million people born in these 20 years, but only 10 million people were born. That means 30 million people died, despite the fact that those 30 million people were never conceived, let alone birthed and then killed. So this is the usual fucking bullshit. There's a very good monthly review article titled "Did Mao Really Kill Millions?" If you're interested in, it's like fucking 40 pages, and it goes into all the statistics of it. But it's interesting, yeah. Just so you know, it takes 5 seconds to tell a lie, and it takes fucking a 40-page article
exactly
to debunk the bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. All right. Moving on. The next one is called Mandela Effect. Now, I think most people know what the Mandela Effect as a term is. It's basically like a false memory. It's when one person recalls something that didn't ever happen or recalls it differently from what actually happened. And Mandela Effect is supposed to be the idea that, many people remember something.
Yeah.
And the way they use this is so fucking... The way they try to rationalize, like, that means we can see into paranormal areas and parallel universes. No, you're a dumb fuck, all right? Bernstein versus Bernstein Bears is very easy to fucking mix up. None of you are familiar with German, and you were watching the show when you're fucking 4 years old. No wonder you confused an E for an A. You dumb fuck. But the reason it's called the Mandela Effect is because some stupid fucking, I don't know what's her name, journalist / researcher basically seemed to have she claimed that she had very vivid and detailed memories of Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 80s, despite the fact that he didn't die in prison in the 80s. He died in 2013 or so, and he's been by the way thoroughly sanitized by the fucking liberal bullshit, despite the fact that he was a radical Marxist, which everybody seems to forget for some reason, and he was also advocated for armed rebellion. He was part of a communist party, etc., etc. So what's it called?
Whitewashing.
The bullshit whitewashing is always so annoying. That's why I urge everybody to read what's it called? State and the Revolution, in which Lenin goes on his little tirade about how Marxist thinkers are like then sanitized and canonized and then completely have their radical message completely diluted to make them acceptable for a liberal mainstream. But anyways, so she says that she remembered him dying in prison, and then like 20 other people are like, I think I remember something like that too. And that's it was termed that way. Yes. By the way, this lady was like, perhaps thousands have remembered the same thing, despite the fact that she never did any
study,
surveys or something. Yeah, she was just like, you know what? What's a believable number?
Nobody can tell me that the fucking Monopoly guy didn't have a fucking monocle. I don't give a fuck how unscientific the Mandela Effect is. The Monopoly guy had a fucking monocle. Now you're telling me he never...
He doesn't?
Yeah, he doesn't.
Monopoly guy. I'm looking this up.
I love how anytime anybody, what's it called, types something out, the first thing that comes out of the mouth is the phonetic.
Yeah.
I love that. So
this is bullshit. I don't believe it.
Absolutely. You see, Hakim, you will have enemies. This
no,
is the first
one.
internal, the Deprogram debate. The Mandela Effect exists. It is true. We are being lied to. For some reason, the supreme world government is altering tiny things on game boxes and on the cereal boxes, and like they made the Mona Lisa smile instead of be serious in the picture, which by the way,
dude,
she's serious. She's smiling in the picture. She's not serious. Like the Mona Lisa. I always
it's a soft smile.
It's a white people smile. It's the waiter smile. It's like, can I get the check? Like, it's like one of those. Which is the weirdest thing, by the way. Only in what's it called? Actually, maybe it's not fair to say only Americans do this. Probably a lot of like Western Europeans also do this. But only people of that particular heritage will come to your country, usually as soldiers. And then when they see you, they'll do the waiter smile, or no, the asking for a waiter smile. When you kind of like roll your lips into your teeth. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, motherfucker, how are you uncomfortable in this situation? How you're in my fucking country? Leave. You can get the fuck out of here. In fact, that's your long. Oh my lord. Anyways,
that's so funny.
Oh jeez. But fuck, my audio peaked. Many apologies, JT. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, the fucking Monopoly guy. No, you just assume rich bourgeois-looking fucking cartoon characters should have a fucking monocle, right? It's an assumption that
class consciousness. It's not.
You have a schema.
Mandela Effect. Suck my dick.
All right. See, there you go. See, you tied it all up. Beautiful.
Yeah. But if we say Mandela Effect, the Mandela Effect is when you're confused about remembering things that are very similar in a different way than what they really are. If that is the definition of the Mandela Effect, then okay, it happens because we don't have enough capacity to remember everything in 100% detail. But if the idea that somebody's going around and altering these tiny things is mental.
We have a objectively terrible memory. Like there was the study about like you see a car driving by and it was like in a crash, and then you had to look away real quick. All right, what color was the car that crashed? And like no one got it right. Like
flash memory is incredibly unreliable. In fact, all memory is dog shit. Vast majority of the memories that you have are basically constructed from monoperceptions of bullshit, right? The research into this is like beyond the what's it called? Fuck, my English is failing me. You know what I mean?
They did a lot of research on cats recently. Super switching topic, but on cats' brains recently.
Oh yeah.
And to all you dog-loving motherfuckers, cats absolutely do like their owner. They can remember who their owner is. They have their own name. They understand when objects are moved around in a space. They don't think, this box disappeared only because it's not where it previously found it. Yes, they have object permanence. Bravo. And they can absolutely be taught to follow strict disciplinary actions, but they just need to be taught in a different way than a suck-up dog would need to be taught through.
Beyond based.
Cat team, motherfucker. Actually, Hakeem, cat person or dog person?
I am definitely a cat person, but I don't like dogs.
Exactly same. I love dogs. But if somebody gave me a gun and was like, shoot this cat or shoot this dog, I would shoot myself.
That cat would be gone. I tell you what. You gave me.
I shoot JT with that fucking bullet.
Yeah. What? Dude, yeah. JT has dogs, so he puts himself in that.
I am.
It's like
I'm
an
biased.
unknown cat versus the people. The people. Oh Jesus. The animals that he sleeps with. Probably. Do you do that?
I thought you were a man of superior quality, but
here's the thing. I love all animals. They're amazing. In a different life, I was like some kind of animal worker. But I am very, very allergic to cats, so I can't be around them, which is very sad.
I was just gonna say, JT, I just imagined you as when you're like when there's like a kids party and you want to bring like lizards for them to touch, and you're the guy who wears the short cargo pants that are like the beige and the hat with the fucking puka shells around. Yeah. I imagined you as that, and the image is like it's beautiful.
Very wholesome, isn't
it? Exactly. Yeah, I can imagine that. Oh, that's cute. I was gonna say, okay, personal question: when you take your dogs out for a walk and then they come back, do you wash their feet before you let them back into the house?
It depends.
Their paws,
Yeah, if it's at all muddy or anything, their paws get wiped down and stuff, or if they stepped in anything. Right. But especially if they're having allergies, if it's allergy season for the dogs, then wiping their paws down will help to combat the allergies. So there you go, tip of the day for people who have dogs: wipe down their paws if they're having allergies.
I did not know they have allergies. That's kind of cute. Yep. Do they get like a runny snout or something?
No, not really. They'll sneeze. They will flap their ears a lot, because their ears itch. And sometimes if it's really bad, they'll rub their face on the ground and things like that. And if they're doing that, you might want to look into getting some allergy medication for your dogs. They can take a Benadryl. It is safe for them, but check with your vets and stuff.
I can't. I'm a human doctor. My mini apologies. I can't comment. Oh man. Anyways, okay. Now to the next point. The title is Operation Unthinkable. This is something that most people have probably heard of. So basically, after the victory in the European theater in World War II, Nazi Germany was defeated, and basically the Western powers, the Allied powers that, aside from the Soviet Union, were like, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. We are gonna invade the Soviet Union, or the Soviet area of operations right now, and then invade, continue to invade into the Soviet Union. We're gonna reorganize the Nazi military to fight for us. We might even bring in nukes. And this was the brilliant idea of that fat fuck. What's his name?
Winston Churchill.
Churchill, exactly right. By the way, it's not that he was fat. It's just there's more oomph when you say he's a fat fuck, right? Yeah. Do you know who, there are plenty of people who are more heavier set gentlemen, but were beyond based. Okay.
Yeah.
But this guy is the pinnacle of the piece of in piece of shit grading. He's
a fat fuck.
Bulldog
why looking ass. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Why does it matter that the Indians are dying of famine? They breed like rabbits anyways.
Yeah,
fucking piece of shit.
He also called Mussolini the greatest living lawgiver among men. He's
do you know?
not the best taste.
Yeah, dude, he praised Hitler. The entire meme is that, oh, it's us fucking inbred fucking Anglo-Saxons that are the that are the fucking superior race, not those Germanics. It's fucking crock of shit. Anyways, it was his brainchild, or brain diarrhea more like. And the victory of the Labour Party in the 45 election was basically the thing that shelved this plan. But if he was brought back into power, who knows where the fuck it would have went. Basically World War III. And they were planning on doing this, by the way, in July of 1945. Yeah. So literally like
they didn't waste any time.
Yeah, they basically completely stupid. And by the way, there are very detailed plans that were developed for this and all that. But they also looked at the sheer might of the Soviet and Soviet allied military forces, the ones that are built by the fucking actual labor of a liberated working class, and they're like, you know what, they're better than us in like every possible way, but we can take them.
Yeah.
and when you look at like the actual like numbers of it, the only thing that the Allied forces had more than the Soviets was strategic aircraft. Not even total aircraft, by the way, just several strategic aircraft models that they had more. But when it comes to basically everything else, they were dog shit in comparison. And also with troop morale and also troop experience, they were not doing much better in that regard either. My favorite part of all this is Big Dick Zhukov, who was the again, this is another side tangent, but one of the greatest crimes of World War II history is the complete erasure of the efforts of the Soviet Union, the Soviet military, like the Red Army, and particularly all the amazing generals and strategists and tacticians that took part in this. I'm talking about Zhukov and Rokossovsky and all these other amazing people who basically have been scrubbed out of history just because the Americans want all the the glory to themselves, despite the fact that the United States for the most part did very little towards the end of the war, aside from Lend-Lease and whatnot. I mean, for when it comes to actual the stuff that kicked the teeth in of the German army, it was the Soviets. Anyways, as they were drawing up this stupid plan, this Operation Unthinkable, Zhukov, who was basically the one of the stars of the Red Army, and he was the one who personally took Berlin, incredibly talented general and strategist, but a very dogshit politician. He was like, I don't trust these the Western allies, so he immediately ordered the redeployment of forces that he had in Poland, and basically started setting them up for defense, and Allies basically kind of saw this and they're like, we think that they might know about what the fuck we're trying to do, so that kind of also nipped it in the bud, yeah, that's very interesting. And this is another kind of aspect of Okay, actually, I was going to take a dig at anarchists for a second, but my point isn't to take a dig at anarchists, but my point is kind of why you need a centralized state is, at least early on in the revolution, is because shit like this will happen. Most definitely. If any large-scale military maneuvers happen, you're going to need to have a strongly centralized state with a interdependent economy that can mobilize massive amounts of basically people and material and whatnot to resist the united capitalist forces from invading and destroying you and imposing their will, which is, by the way, the actual letter of the fucking operation, imposing the will of the Western Allies on the Soviet sphere of influence, which is a very interesting way of saying, yeah, we're just gonna fucking kill all of you and take everything over. But yes, nothing but love for the anarchist comrades, but it's just a point of a theoretical difference. Yes. Anything to add?
No. Beautiful. Nope. Well done.
All right. This is one that I think everybody also knows about. It's that Tetris, which is a game that everybody's fucking played, was a Soviet game. It was made by some basically teenagers in the Soviet Union who were playing around with, at first, Soviet computers with programming and whatnot. And then later on, it was like transferred over onto IBM machines, and then it was picked up by Amiga, and then by Nintendo, and that's how most people learned of it. But originally, it was a Soviet game, and the Tetris theme is not a Tetris theme. It is a what's called folk song. I think it's Korbienki, I believe, is the folk song. That. which is pretty cool. But there's nothing more to this one.
No,
it's a stressful game.
And you're missing so much potential Git propaganda here. Hey, gamers, the most oppressed people on planet Earth, you basically exist thanks to random Slavic commies. So gaming originally would not have developed without Tetris, without the first, let's call it, difficult game. So in a way, tap ourselves on the back. Marxism led to video gaming, and video gaming led to racism. So Marxism bad.
Yeah, there you go. Beautifully said. By the way, no Tetris, no Dark Souls. You're first. Oh. If you're ever interested about what the fuck Tetris even means, Tetris it comes from basically a compound of tetra, so 4, and the what's it called? Programmer's favorite sport, which was tennis. So tetra and tennis became Tetris. So hey, very interesting. It's impressive for for the time.
Yeah.
Hey, say what you will, everybody knows the fucking name, right? And it sticks in your head,
yep.
Right? And nothing else sounds even remotely similar. In fact, they did a very good job, and it kind of pulls back to the point that Yugopnik makes a lot, and it's usually that communists make the best capitalists, right? They always have the best fucking the ad slap, the fucking what's it called, the impression gets stuck in your head,
the visuals, everything.
Yeah. Anyways, the next thing, which is something I don't know why it's on the list, but I guess it's interesting. It's titled CPUSA endorsements, which, if you're unaware, the Communist Party USA, there's many communist parties in the US which have like different fucking strings of letters, but this is one of the old ones, the Communist Party USA. I'm not going to speak for it because maybe JT would know better, but from my personal knowledge, this party has basically been around for a while and has been infiltrated left, right, and center and repressed and all that kind of stuff, that basically it barely exists as a proper institution anymore. I think they have like a few thousand members, if even. And the reason that this is even on here is because the CPUSA is very into supporting democratic candidates with the usual, lesser evilism, anything but Trump bullshit, which is, not exactly the best political line. But there's not really much more to this one, unless JT has something to add.
Just for a point of its history, it was the Communist Party. It's been around for like over 100 years at this point. I actually joined it fairly recently, and I've been working with the international department. They're doing their first.
Well, I didn't mean to be shitting all over your organization.
No, it's good. It's because I didn't know much about it either, and it's. Yeah, there's definitely a lot to be said about the liberalism of the national branch, as far as I'm aware. And there was that cringe post that somebody made, what was it? It was on Twitter about how it's everything rides on defeating Trump, and from the official CPUSA account. I'm like, that's a bad look. But in my experience, the Texas branch is or the 2 Texas branches I have experience with are quite radical. So that's optimistic. And there's a lot of internal discussion that I don't know at what liberty I am to speak on it, but it's a point of discussion that the organization looks too friendly with the Democrats, and that's something that I hope will change, and it seems like it's going to.
And of course, with my opinions, I'm not American, so they basically don't count. So don't take, my comments about the CPUSA are just from the very little information that I have, from the little exposure I've had to it. But
I mean, you are largely
US.
Correct in that it was a pretty big thing at one point. It was infiltrated. There was a schism in it that basically killed it for a long time. So all of that stuff is absolutely true, and it's still trying to find its legs again.
All right. Well, all the best to our comrades in CPUSA. Hopefully, they'll be the the vanguard that brings down that 2-party nightmare. That
Inshallah.
Inshallah. There we go. All right. Now we're gonna go into another one, which is nuclear war close calls, which is. I mean, maybe we should do and make this an actual own thing maybe in the future, because there's so many of them. That's fairly interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm actually wondering, should we do any of this right now? We'll save it. I think we can save it. The reason is because there's so many of them that relate to Soviet, what's it called? Soviet and American, close calls, and they're always so stupid. One of them is some, what's it called, machine that's supposed to detect if there are missiles heading their way, but it got the light from the moon wrong, so then it detected it as like 13 Soviet missiles coming towards Iceland. On other ones, it's like, oh yeah, some guy in Norway was firing off fireworks, but it was detected as like, oh, American missiles. It's always the stupidest fucking, or like a computer error.
It can be its own episode. Like there's so much there.
Yeah. So I think we'll leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting. We're going to go into tier 3, and then we're just going to blitz it because there's not that much that's very interesting here. The first one is the Chomsky-Foucault debate. I never learned how to pronounce his name because, yet again, French is a waste of time. But
oh my God.
Just always savage.
The only reason I say it like half jokingly, but there's the reason I'm going to stick to it now is because there was one guy who's probably listening to this right now. I'm sorry, but there's one guy who took it very seriously. And he's like, why is French a waste of time? Could you please explain why French? I'm like, no, it just is. There you go.
What you do though, did the program mean absolutely everything they say, especially in like a funny manner? Yeah.
No, exactly right. Take everything we say 100% seriously. There's nothing there. Anyways, this is
act like
a debate. Yeah. Oh my lord. Exactly right. Pulling back on the point. Anyways, this debate is basically another new word I've learned from Americans, a nothing burger, which makes no fucking sense. But yeah, this is nothing. Nothing fucking happened. It's two dudes who are the most overrated fucking people to ever exist. Chomsky wrote two semi-decent works. Foucault wrote basically nothing that's decent. And the the entire quote-unquote debate was just basically both of them agreeing with each other but
I was reading about it. It was supposed to be about human nature, and I was reading the stuff that they said. I'm like, what are you guys talking about even? Like, you're just, it's like, yeah, I agree with that, and then they talked nothing about human nature, or almost nothing. Yeah.
The point, I guess, the idea was, hey, is there, because if there is some natural human, a human nature, then you can distill that somehow and then use it or analysis of it to kind of see into what a post-revolutionary, like post-capitalist civilization would look like, and how people would relate to each other, and and it gets into like this weird social criticism or just sociology, which is kind of pointless and they even admitted during the debates like there's no point in doing this because we would never know until it happens. But yeah, so it was just a bunch of academics who are not very connected to any sort of movement, jerking each other off about, I've studied linguistics for 60 years and I'm also an asset of the US government. And the other guy is like, I haven't said a word about the Algerian crisis, but hey, I'm bald. So I'm sorry, but it had about as much substance as the Zizek-Peterson debate, but the difference is that the Zizek-Peterson debate was actually entertaining to watch because Zizek was just having fun and just showing how stupid Peterson was.
Peterson is wild. Have you guys seen the clip of him? Somebody made an edit. He was apparently talking about like a rat or something. Have you seen that? It's amazing. He's like,
the thing is,
it's just chopped up. He's like, here's a rat, and he sniffs. It's just a rat, and then he goes like this. He's like this, and then he sniffs.
Cocaine. That's cocaine.
There's so many clips of him where it's like him on a stupid podcast, and he's like angrily crying for some reason, and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with?
He is going through it. Whatever it is, he's going through it.
Dude, this guy needs some they them. Some they them pussy.
Yeah.
Is that okay to say? Is that sexist? I don't mean it that way, but what I mean is he needs some diversity in his life. That's what will sort him out. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So that's that's the debate that nobody cares about. Moving on. This is actually very interesting. I think maybe JT can take this one since it's a very big episode in American history. It's called the Battle of Blair Mountain. Most Americans listening to us, you're probably at least slightly lefty, so you've maybe kind of heard this, but most Americans know dog shit about this. They don't know anything, despite the fact that it was the single largest labor dispute, number one, single largest military action on American soil, in which the American military targeted American citizens, and what makes it even worse is many of these American citizens were former veterans themselves who were just trying to strike for union membership. So please take it away, JT.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting, and if it could be made into like a TV show and done well, that would be really cool to watch because it's a fascinating period. But yeah, it's the largest labor uprising in U.S. history. It was massive. I mean, like thousands of people. But a bunch of union miners were upset with their conditions, and the management of the coal companies were intent on bringing in non-union labor to replace these union coal miners because it's less expensive, obviously. TLDR, some people said no, got shot, and like 10,000 union miners marched to this town where they were in a pitched battle with the militia, and eventually the army came in and brought like literal bombers, and there were bombs dropped from a handful of these planes, which were later used as evidence in a court case that got a lot of the union miners acquitted of charges of treason. Which is it's a really fascinating period. You don't really hear about these times when the U.S. military got involved in fighting their own citizens. But a lot of the union coal miners, like Hakeem said, were veterans themselves, and they basically refused to fire on U.S. military service members. So that was pretty much the end of it. Once the military came in, they're like, yeah, we're not going to shoot these people. They put down their arms, hid them in the woods. Archaeologists found them years later, and they were used to reconstruct the course of the battle and where they came from and stuff. It's a really fascinating story. Like they commandeered trains to get there quicker, and it's a period that is not really done justice in American
I wonder why.
History books. Yeah, I wonder why. It's same with anything else. Like we don't hear about the Move bombings. We don't hear about the Black Panthers. We don't hear about stuff like that because it's inconvenient. It's not good history for the ruling class. But this was, in all, it was a major victory for the management of coal companies because the union miners lost and membership tanked for a long time. But eventually it did lead the way to rising union sentiment, the New Deal, and the rise of some more well-known unions like the Steelworkers Union later. But at first, it was a major blow for coal miners.
And two interesting bits just before we move on. First one is that amongst the bombs that were thrown on the miners, there was also unused ordnance from World War One, which included gas, which is very fun. And the second thing is one of the main organizers, or actually basically all the main organizers of this, were accused of fucking treason because they wanted to be unionized. Yeah. Right? They didn't want... anyways, they were acquitted later on because of the overwhelming evidence, right?
Many of them were not. Some of the leaders were, but many of them got jail time.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But the main people, because, they were kind of the face of it. Yeah. But that's very interesting to note. Very interesting episode of history, just like JT said. All right, moving on. The next one is titled German Empire Helped Lenin Get Back to Russia, which is, again, a very very well-known about episode of history. I'm just going to give the quick TLDR of it. Basically, after the, February Revolution, the provisional government was like, hey, yeah, all exiles, you can come back to Russia. And Lenin was, he needed his fix. he really wanted to go back to Russia. He's been gone for many years. They want to find a way of getting back, but it was still, World War One, and it was basically there's no way of legally going through, but there was an illegal way, which kind of meant that Lenin would get on basically a sail train with two German officers in Zurich, so in Switzerland, and it will cut entirely through the the German heartland, and then go up by ferry into Sweden, all the way up through Sweden, and then down through Finland into St. Petersburg afterwards, Petrograd. And that's the journey he took. And it's very, the instances of, or like the events on the train are very interesting. Some of them have been dramatized. There are several Soviet films on it. There's a very good, actually, mixed, like American, German, Russian, British production, which is titled Lenin the Train, which is very, very good. I really like it. It has one stupid thing, which it kind of plays on the nonsense, which is completely unsubstantiated, that Lenin had an affair with Armand, which was one of his fellow revolutionaries. It's completely what's called without basis. But otherwise, it's a good movie, and it has like other parallel interesting stories. Also, by the way, the train wasn't actually sealed. They stopped in Frankfurt, and a bunch of the people on the train, some of the Russian radicals, got off. These Bolsheviks, they got off, and most of them could speak German as well, Lenin included, and they started talking to the workers in Germany because these people couldn't fucking they're like they couldn't just keep a cap on it for fucking just one day, right? So they went just to stretch out their legs, and then they gathered a small crowd that then became a much larger crowd, and then the Germans were like, hey, what the fuck, get back in the train, let's go. So yeah, this is also covered in the movie, which is interesting, and there's several books also written on it. If you're interested, but yeah, it's a much bigger episode of what's it called, of history, and we can talk about it forever. But this is just a quick rundown.
Yeah, and it's still very relevant today in Central, Eastern, and Southern Europe because it's constantly used by reactionaries as an argument that the Bolshevik Revolution was innately a way to destabilize the Russian Empire because it was sent by the now struggling Germans during World War I to destabilize their foe. Obviously, very unsubstantiated, but I wanted to mention that it's extremely relevant today, and it's a talking point that maybe I hear 50% of the time whenever I even bring up the concept of communism in this part of the world. It's a big thing.
So yeah, that's very interesting, but also, just like Yugopnik said, a lot of reactions use it for stupid shit, and all their opinions are unfounded. But yeah, that's a conversation for another day. The next entry on this is Rage Against the Machine, which I don't think I'll even dignify with an answer. I think everybody knows what they are. They're a band that has some music that I guess is okay. I never really liked their music. Sorry to say. Some of it has like some radical messages. They have a reading list that I checked out, which has some decent works on it. So I think they are genuinely radical. But I have nothing to add unless you guys do.
No, they're just like, they're one of those bands that conservatives will find out are political every once in a while and just get super upset. Like, why'd you make it political? It's like, guys, they've been political their entire
Look at their fucking name, bro. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, they thought they were libertarian, guys. Not the good kind of libertarian, but
yeah.
The next entry is Orwell's Homage to Catalonia, which is a it's a thoroughly mediocre work by a
and
snitch.
I hate to tell you that word is homage, and it is French.
Okay, I don't care. Again,
like
what did I say?
Your eggs
JT, please. JT, please. What is say the sentence?
French is a waste of time.
There you go. Thank you.
How would you like your eggs? I would like them homage. That's what homage sounds.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly right.
You're thinking omelette du fromage.
I suck my dick. I know. I saw it coming from a mile away, and I still let this motherfucker go there.
Anyways, Orwell was a cop, a snitch, racist, a rapist, and just a generally piece of fucking shit. So don't even dignify your mouth by uttering his shitty fucking name. He's everyone's
father.
In the lists, yeah, and my God, in the lists that he would give into the secret police in Britain, he would like write down next to the names of African Americans, for example, or like African people of African origin, and he'd be like, like racial subversive, or next to some other people who would be like possible homosexual question mark. Like, he's one of those. These are, and by the way, the lists are online. So yeah, he's a piece of shit, and all his work has been basically subsidized and reprinted for the past fucking 70 years, 80 years. By the CIA directly. This is, by the way, this is a known truth. This is not like a conspiracy theory. Everybody knows about this. This isn't hard to verify.
Yeah.
And this particular book, he basically talks about his trip to join the internationalist forces in Spain, in which he basically talks about scratching his balls, being bored, being horny, and some racist shit against Spaniards. Like, oh, they're so fucking lazy and they don't want to fucking work and they don't want to, it's just like this shit. Which, by the way, dude, you were a cop in Burma, cracking skulls of native people there, and then afterwards you were some bullshit writer that have never the ink was wasted when it wept tears of fucking blood when it was you that was purchasing it, you fucking piece of shit.
Roasted.
But yeah, some people like the narrative structure, like, oh, it's fun to read. There are far better books to read if you're interested. There are even far better diaries on the Spanish Civil War. One of my favorite parts, by the way, about the book, for people who haven't read it, is he goes and he shows up in Spain. And he's like, "There's all these like political factions. I didn't know there were so many political factions." I'm like, "You're in a civil war, my man. All right, what the fuck? What do you? Oh no, it's gonna be the Reds and the Whites. Like, no, I will not dignify it with any more of an answer." Do you guys have anything to add?
No. Well said.
Then the last two ones, I think, are these the last two ones? Okay. Oh shit. Fuck me. All right. There's a lot more than I expected. Fuck me.
Yeah, you can just pick like the three you like the most.
Okay. MLK was a socialist. I'm not gonna talk about it. We already know. MLK was a socialist. He made a bunch of stuff. One of the last things he was gonna do is the march of basically poor people and a mixed racial thing. So it wasn't only blacks, but blacks and whites and whatnot. So yeah, everybody knows about this. Is nothing. What's it called? Controversial. The next thing is something called Britney Spears socialism, which is two things. Number one, it is a post that she made on her Instagram, I think in 2020 or something.
Yeah.
In which she basically said, "Oh, during this time of isolation," it's a big like paragraph, and one of the parts of it says, "Oh, we will need to feed each other, redistribute wealth, strike. We'll understand our importance in places we must stay. Community moves beyond walls. We can do this together." Blah blah. And it's something that she basically reposted. And it the part of like we'll redistribute wealth and strike and blah blah. That sounds kind of vaguely lefty. So people just kind of ran with Britney Spears socialism, kind of tongue in cheek.
Comrade
There's
Britney.
even people.
Fuck yeah,
exactly,
Comrade
there's
Britney. That's perfect for us. People think their favorite pop stars. Yeah. Also, like Britney and Pamela Anderson being secret communists is the greatest thing that has happened to American socialism in the last 50 fucking years. So big successes there, big success. Yeah. And also like the internalized sexism. I thought always that Pamela is probably stupid. No, woman's fucking brilliant. Like she's very, 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 very smart. If you listen to some of her interviews, if you then research a bit of her life and all the horrible shit that she's been through, and then like her having the not only the brains but also the willingness to do something with the second half of her life and dedicate it to like progressive politics is very cool. And then Britney, we all know what the fuck's happening in Britney's life. Jesus fucking Christ.
And the what's it called? The comments underneath the Instagram post are all like, "Oh, call me a queen. Oh my god, call me Britney." And my favorite thing is there's a bunch of people who don't get the joke, I guess, and they're like, "Oh, what about Vuvuzela? Oh, you fucking all that." Yeah, it's cringe. And this is one part, and then the second part of this is there's also a period, and I think you still sometimes see these images where it's like a quote from like Mao or Lenin or Marx or something, but it's a picture of Britney Spears, and they have like a badly photoshopped like hat, like the worker cap on her or something, or like a Red Guard cap or some shit, which is that's kind of the
that was my wallpaper for like at least like 5 months, like communist Britney Spears with the Soviet Union flag behind it back in uni. That was always very funny when people would look at.
Beautiful. Antonio Gramsci, we're not going to go into this. Basically, Italian theoretician, amazing. He was the one who came up with the concept of culture hegemony. This is something we're going to do its own episode on. Another thing is Sino-Soviet split. This is way too big. We will definitely do an episode on this.
My favorite type of ice cream.
Shut up.
Oh, that makes it hurt twice as bad. Oh fuck. Just like a very quick, just 2 sentences on it. The Sino-Soviet split was the single worst thing, aside from the collapse or the illegal dissolution of the Soviet Union, was the single worst thing to happen to the global communist movement.
Big cringe.
Yeah. If you're interested in reading about this, then there's access to the quote unquote great debate.
And there'll be an episode on it for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna do something, but that's so it's very horrible, and that's about that. If it didn't happen, then the Soviet Union most likely would have never been illegally dissolved, and we would have seen an even further spread of socialist political influence, because all these different parties and movements would have gotten material and military support and whatnot. Also, by the way, another sad aspect of this is that after the Sino-Soviet split, there were several attempts to try to kind of reconnect, especially in the Brezhnev era, but it just never fucking made it because of bullshit. But you read about it and you're like, why? Just fucking why? But yeah, anyways, that's number one. The next entry is Mussolini ex-socialist, which is fairly known, but there's 2 points to this. Number one, there's a lot of these people who always want to harp on about how well versed Mussolini was in Marxism. I've never seen anything to. I've read some of the bullshit that Mussolini has written. It doesn't seem like he was very well versed in Marxism. Likewise, in the books where they claim he is very well versed in like the Marxist classics, they don't actually give any citation. They just say he is. So I think this is just like a bullshit point to try to overemphasize some sort of socialist past. Number one, number two. He also had always been fascinated by Nietzsche and the concept of some sort of part of superior person or Übermensch type of idea, and he was also super anti-egalitarian like throughout his entire existence. So I question the veracity of him being a socialist. Just because he, for example, was against early on in his life, it was against some fucking imperialist wars or some shit, doesn't mean that, you know, there's plenty of people who are, you know, what's it called, at least some flavor of discount Marxist, I mean like Trot or something, that then go on to become neoconservative. So this is not like super weird.
He was a career politician who
there you go.
At the beginning of his life found socialism as a potential driver to achieve fame, and then afterwards, when that didn't go the way he wanted it to go, found fascism as a better option, but never really principled in either, I would argue even.
Yep. The next one is one that I don't even know why it's here. Notch voted for the Pirate Party. Notch is the guy who made Minecraft, and he votes for the fucking Pirate Party. Who gives a shit?
Fun fact, he was one of the first patrons to my channel way back in the day. Yeah.
What the fuck, bitch? Seriously?
All right.
Yeah, but he's also a piece of shit, so it's not that great.
Yeah, but still, hey, you got.
It was weird, yeah. He sent me an email. It's like, hey, this is this Marcus person. I'm Notch. I really like your stuff. Keep it up. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then he turned out to be like a misogynist freak. So, oh well.
Got him.
Big oof.
Yeah.
But yeah. Moving on from that, Operation Paperclip. Everybody knows. Basically, the U.S. Got a whole bunch of Nazis after World War II and was like, hey, yeah, you're scientists, so and you have all this research data from people you fucking tortured. So yeah, come over.
You want to live in Beverly Hills?
Yeah, you're gonna get what's it called? A cozy house in fucking Maine, and you're gonna get a stipend, and you'll be officially employed, and nobody will fucking persecute you.
Unlimited dose of Sino-Soviet split ice cream, like it's
exactly right. Yeah. And before some fucking smartass comes in, but it's like, oh, the Soviets did the same. No, the Soviets took Nazi scientists and put them in like science labor camps where they were basically forced to fucking work, but they were also being punished for being horrible human beings, which is how it should have been done. Instead of, basically, getting them to join the political establishment of the US and become like core parts of their different research facilities and whatnot. The next entry, unless you guys have something to add.
No.
All right. So I'm just going to fucking knock these out. The next entry is just zakat. Zakat is one of the pillars of Islam, and it's the concept that every year you're supposed to give a part of your total assets as like basically your wealth, tax on wealth.
Just like a tithe.
Yeah, kind of, but it's 2.5% usually, and not everybody has to give it. It depends on your wealth, right? So if you're very poor, there's a bunch of other factors that you don't meet, then you don't have to pay it. But if you do have to pay it, then you should pay it. And if it's in a proper like Islamic government, then there is a particular institution for this. So you give the money to them, and they're the ones who redistribute it amongst poor travelers, etc. etc. There's a whole entire list of people who get it. But if you don't live in an Islamic country, or there's no system in place for this, then it's supposed to be something you do voluntarily. And it can be from charity to basically, you charity, but it should be 2.5% on wealth. There's a lot more on it. The Wikipedia page is actually very decent on it. So zakat, Z-A-K-A-T, if you're interested.
I heard that, Z. Yes. Yes, American Hakeem.
No. I'm hanging out around you too much.
Yes.
That's something actually I never understood when you do the ABCD song, right? I always, I learned it X, Y, Z, But Americans say X, Y, Z, and I'm like, it doesn't. There's no end. There's no like blunt, whatever.
Well, you don't call T Ted, do you?
You know what? I am too tired to rebut that point, but there must be some failure in your logic. I just can't find it right now.
A bed said dead.
Hey, that sounds almost Semitic. All right.
Did somebody say Semitic? Because I am anti.
Oh fuck. Oh Jesus Christ. I physically cannot be. I'm a Semite myself. Oh, before some fucking white guy in New Jersey is like, actually, fucking shut up. Anyways,
actually beer. Common quote by first people in New Jersey. Oh yeah, beer.
No. You always have you have these fucking stupid people who try to pretend like, it's like a guy with purely European ancestry who will come to be and be like, you're being anti-Semitic against me, despite the fact that I'm critiquing Zionism, not being Jewish. And yeah, it's just
I
bullshit,
know,
right?
baby.
Liberals in the walls. Next entry is a book of Acts Communism, which very interestingly, by the way, when you look this up on Google, the person who has this saved is Grover Furr. Like his page comes up, which is very funny to me. I don't know why. But basically it's Acts 2 to 4 and 5 in the New Testament, which kind of basically talks about believers having everything in common and then selling all their property and basically like some kind of semi-communal, quote-unquote, communistic way of living. It is kind of interpreted out of context / not interpreted correctly if you're gonna be very strict about the reading, especially when you compare the Greek to the English translation, etc., etc. There's a whole thing about it. But it's pretty cool. So check it out, I guess.
And it's a good way to open up a conversation about it with your evangelical parents because they don't know the difference between the Greek and the English.
Yeah,
so,
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is definitely another tool in the belt. And now finally the fucking last thing is Bernie Sanders anti-23 deodorants comments, which is a mouthful, but it's very interesting. The only source that I can find that actually reproduces the entire quote is one of these fucking free market reason.com fucking websites.
I love that website. Yeah. Oh my god, it's my favorite fucking website. Whenever I'm bored, I just buy some sandwich key and I open this fucking website. Dude, this is like Netflix on steroids. They come up with the greatest fucking lines ever. So yes, please inform us. What is Bernie Sanders? Don't need 23 choices of deodorant, 18 choices of sneakers when kids are going hungry. Oh, actually, great critique of overproduction.
Look, actually, I'll get into it. It's actually, he makes a good point. But two things. Number one, I've always noticed this when they use pictures of Bernie. They want to use the most, I hate to use this word, but quote unquote, most Jewy, quote unquote, picture of him, which is so fucking, like, we want to talk about being anti-Semitic. This is anti-Semitic. I've never understood, like, the guy clearly, like, he's an old man, so he doesn't know, he doesn't know his angles, I don't think, right? But my favorite thing is that they use the worst possible picture of him, and then they put it twice. They have one which is like low res and blown out, and then one which is very small in the corner. I don't know why. But yeah, it's again, it always feels very racist that they do it, which is probably intentional. Most of these people are generally anti-Semitic. They say that
it works on Hakim. He's like, man, this guy looks too much like a fucking Jew.
No, I'm saying that's their usage. By the way, I've used. I've seen you've seen the old 4chan meme where it's again a very racist depiction of a Jewish man with his hands together, and I've seen the same picture, this image of Bernie, but they kind of edited it over. And this was a thing that you'd seen like 2015 or something. That's why I meant. But anyways, liberals in the walls aside, this author is like, Bernie Sanders represents everything wrong with the populist redistributionist left, channeling his inner Hugo Chavez, he said. And now I'm quoting Bernie. You can't just continue growth for the sake of growth in a world in which we are struggling with climate change and all kinds of environmental problems. You don't necessarily need a choice of 23 underarm spray deodorants or of 18 different pairs of sneakers when children are hungry in this country. I don't think the media appreciates the kind of stress that ordinary Americans are working on, which is fundamentally a very good critique. It's like, it can be deepened, obviously, but he was giving this off the cuff in like an interview, and he's like 300 years old, so it's very well done to him. And my favorite part, my favorite part about all of this, what's it called? The entire fucking article is him being like, but what about Vuvuzela? And I'm like, oh my god, you fucking people have one argument. You fucking have one.
It's
by the way,
man. It's reasons.com.
Yeah. No. By the way, he's like, Sanders expected to have a big symbolic campaign event in Burlington with Ben and Jerry's, the Vermont ice cream company owned by socialists, handing out free ice cream. Let's hope they've limited it to one choice in order to supply Vermont's hungry children too, or something. I'm like, you fucking people.
That is literally not what he's saying. You fucking monkeys, man. Oh god.
Yeah. And also, by the way, they complain. It's like, tiny homes in Las Vegas were demolished over code violations. And I was like, why can't you demolish these? I'm done. Dude, fucking libertarians, American libertarians, make me stop believing that human beings are intelligent species.
Yeah. They're arguably more cringe than even fascists, man. It's
genuinely
fucking wild.
Like,
well, their debates always devolve into "I have the right to sell my child." God damn it!
God damn it!
Oh my god. The only right they have is
Don't make me believe
it. Oh, fuck. And with that said, this has been a very long and messy episode. I'm so sorry to JT for having to edit this, and I'm sorry as well to our audience, which had to put up with this. Please let us know that this was fun and worth it.
We'll do the more harsher tiers next time.
Yeah. We can do that, and we promise it will be slightly, just ever so slightly, like 2% more organized. But yeah, not every episode can. Yeah, not every episode can be a Yemen episode. I'm sorry. A very big thank you to all the patrons who gave us feedback on the 2 past episodes and who continue to help us with just everything that we do. Of course, without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. So big thank you to all of you. We love you eternally. So big smooches. Yeah. JT, come on.
I said mwah.
Oh, there we go. See, I just want you to give them an extra because they crave your attention. They yearn for it. Anyways, with that being said, this has been the Deprogram. I'm Hakeem.
I'm JT.
And I'm Ugopnik. Eat your Sino-Soviet ice cream.